Thursday, May 12th, Peoria County Board. Would everyone please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Here, should be. It's not showing. That's why it's not showing. I don't know why it's not showing.
Madam Clerk.
We're just trying to get the screen up.
Okay.
Because I have it here, but it's not up there.
Hi, Rachel.
As soon as we get the screen up. Okay, good.
Kate won't be.
Okay. All right. 17. And Jimmy's here, good. As soon as we get the screen up, we'll do the roll call. Did you hit your button? Because it's showing you present for some reason. You must have hit yours. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did hit it. I hit it. Waiting on the screen.
I just didn't know the screen would pop up. Usually it's. So we gotta start over? Or am I still here? I gotta log in all over again. That's not. No. There we go. All right. We are ready for roll call. Member Alcesser?
Present.
Member Ricker?
Present.
Ms. Duncan, did you? 17 present, 1 absent. Next would be approval of the minutes.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please? Ms. Bryant and then Ms. Daly. Thank you. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, please vote.
Member Alcesser?
Aye.
Member Ricker?
Aye.
17 ayes.
Madam Clerk, before we move on, I'd like to recognize Rob Renault for a moment. I think you have a guest.
I do have a guest. This is my son, Brady. He's finishing up his freshman year at Rich Woods. He's in the IB program, and he's getting to use this as some credit for school. So he's been here before. He's always asking to come.
So that means everyone has to be on their best behavior. Okay, welcome, Brady. Madam Clerk.
Next would be a proclamation recognizing April and May 2022 as the Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration Months.
I'd like to invite Brandy Bryant forward, as well as Beth Kreider from the Regional Office of Education.
Whereas the Peoria County Regional Office of Education is committed to the establishment and continuation of programs in the schools which provide the opportunity for academic excellence in students, and whereas the Peoria County Regional Office of Education supports the development and promotion of programs in the fine arts and applied arts, and whereas the Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration is a harbinger of spring and now includes over 12,000 students from at least 100 schools from 7 central Illinois counties: Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, Fulton, Marshall, Henry, and McLean. And whereas this year's Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration is the 36th annual event of celebrating the arts in central Illinois. And whereas the 2022 Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration will take place from Monday, April 11th through Friday, May 13th, 2022, with the in-person celebration taking place at the Peoria County Courthouse Plaza on Wednesday, April 20th. Now, therefore, I, Andrew A. Rand, Chairman of the Peoria County Board, on behalf of the County Board, do hereby proclaim the months of April and May 2022 as Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration Months, dated this 12th day of May, AD 2022. Andrew A. Rand, Peoria County Board Chairman, and Rachel Parker, Peoria County Clerk. Congratulations.
Welcome, Beth.
Brandy, in the biz, we call it the GMB. That way you don't have to say all of that, okay? All right. And this is what I would like to say this evening to all of you, is that it's not the spring celebration this year. We're either calling it the winter or the summer celebration. We don't know what happened to spring, but it is not our fault. It's a lot of work to put the celebration on, but for 36 years, students have been coming here to sing and share their talents, and we get tired and we get grumpy, and then you go out there and you see the performances, and it is so worth it. It is just one of the special events that this office does. So if you haven't been out, tomorrow's it, except on Monday, Monday the 16th, we had to reschedule the Peace Plays in Peoria event due to the weather. And so several surrounding school districts are joining forces with Peoria Public Schools to celebrate how music can address violence. And so they're going to be out there Monday on the courthouse grounds, and I would recommend you come hear it. It will do your soul good to see what goes on out there. And if I get one more email complaining about the carts not being out there, it's not our fault. So hopefully next year. Thank you for your support of it.
Thank you, Beth. If I could ask Dr. Armour to join me. We have a special little recognition. Dr. Armour is chairperson of the Peoria City County Health Department. Did I get all that right, including the gender neutral terms? I'll give you the mic.
It is my pleasure to call up our Public Health Administrator, Monica Heinrichsen. Would you please come forward? You can tell by her nonverbal behavior that this is not something she knew was going to happen. It is not an easy achievement to do anything for any length of time, and when we get to 10 years, it's certainly noteworthy. So at this point, it is my pleasure to say that as president and on behalf of board members, and on top of the fact that we have an enthusiastic administrator, I will never say that she is tireless, because that's not true. But it's not the point of being tired, it's the point of pushing through and working through and encouraging others. And for that, we thank you so much, and we recognize you for this 10-year accomplishment.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Armour, so much for everything you and the board are doing. And of course, thank you, Monica. It seems like we just started working together 10 years ago, but I've had 14, so I got you a little bit.
Next, we would be at citizens' remarks, and I did not have any turned in to me. So it would be the consent agenda.
Can I get a motion to place that on the floor from Mr. Fennell and a second from Dr. Blair? Are there any additions or corrections or changes to the consent agenda? Items to be pulled. Going twice. All right, please vote. Thank you, everyone.
Member Elsasser,
Aye.
Member Ricker, Member Ricker,
Aye.
thank you. 17 ayes.
Mr. Dillon.
Can I just comment on, I want to thank everybody for the appointments, but that does put the ZBA back to full membership, and I need to thank Member Windish, and I also called Dan Kelch, trying to find people out in the country that would actually be affected by our zoning. And so many of you might know Randy Weber. Randy used to be the face that greeted you downstairs at courthouse security, and Mr. Pollock has a construction background, which I think will be well served on that board. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for putting them forward.
You're welcome. Thanks for your help in getting those seats filled. Extremely important work, and those cases can be very time consuming, and they occur during the day, so it's a special subset of folks that can actually serve with regularity. So thank you, Jimmy. Madam Clerk.
Next, we're at zoning ordinances and resolutions. Item number 1 is case number ZBA 2022-000023, petition of Nate's Awesome LLC, JFH Nursery Series, a special use request from section 20-5.2.2.2.b of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use for private airports, landing fields, and heliports, provided that the location and layout plan have been approved by the Department of Aeronautics of Illinois or the Federal Aviation Administration, and if within its jurisdiction, the Metropolitan Airport Authority of Peoria. The petitioner proposes to construct a restricted land area in the A2 Agricultural Zoning District. The parcels are located in Kickapoo Township. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval with restrictions. The Land Use Committee concurs.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Dillon on the motion to approve and Dr. Blair on the second. Folks, this is a small airport strip, right, Jimmy? Private airport.
Private for, he could have a few planes on there, but the plan is just to have his plane, and he does live on the premise. So it's a lightweight, I don't know if they call them experimental type plane or experimental plane. He was a pilot, so this is, and it would have 3 trips basically a week is what it would have, and it's got FAA approval and IDOT approval.
Just as a matter of record, I don't ever remember seeing a request for an airport in 14 years. This would be my first vote for one.
Did we vote on Trivoli?
I think
There's one in Trivoli, I do know, off the
that's correct. I don't know, but that was not for a new one. That was for an existing one.
existing, and there was a tower location there.
Yes.
So actually, we did not approve that one, correct. So we have a few.
Okay. Well, makes me all giddy. Any questions or comments? Mr. Rosenbaum.
This is for Jenny. Mr. Hare is one of my customers with his nursery. Should I abstain from this vote, or since this has nothing to do with the nursery, can I vote on this one?
You technically can. If you want to avoid any appearances of impropriety, you can always recuse yourself, but you'd be allowed to vote on this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, please vote.
Board Member Alcesser?
Aye. Aye.
Board Member Ricker?
Aye.
17 ayes.
Thank you.
Next is item 2, a joint resolution from your County Operations Committee and your Finance, Audit, and Legislative Affairs Committee recommending approval of a budget amendment related to the pandemic premium pay appropriating an amount not to exceed $442,000 from the ARPA fund balance into the general fund.
Thank you. Mr. Renault on the first and Mr. Fennell on the second. Mr. Renault? And that's this pink document before you.
Thank you. Yes. Prior to this meeting, we met, the Operations Committee had a special meeting. We were able to include the elected officials into this bonus. So the only change, the resolution itself stays the same. The only change is the agenda briefing, and that just states that the elected officials will be included. We were able to run it through the state's attorney's office and get legal advice to make sure that we were met within the statute of the elected salaries to do this. So we got approval from them to do so. The total amount in the original resolution stays the same. We still fall within the amount not to exceed. And I don't know if, Scott, if you want to explain any other specifics in the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Renault. Probably the only thing, just for the audience and the board members that are on Finance Committee, there was a question asked at Finance related to the impact this resolution would have to our FICA fund and our IMRF fund. The total combined impact to those two funds is approximately $75,000. Based on turnover and vacancy rates, those two funds have sufficient room within their appropriation to cover their respective share of that $75,000, and so there's no need to increase the appropriation to cover that. And then secondly, as Mr. Renault pointed out, the State Attorney's Office looked at it, at the ability to do this, and gave the green light to do so, but with some caveats. And just for the audience's sake, those caveats included that all elected officials and the contractual employees of the county need to be treated consistently. The source of the funds does need to be ARPA versus the general fund. If you remember, board members, you'd had some discussion about what the source of funds might be, but because it's COVID related and specific to the changes that the committee approved earlier today, because it's COVID-19 related, ARPA does need to be the source, and that's how the resolution is worded. And then additional consistency based on the levels for the various offices of the county that are receiving different levels. The recommendation and what came out of committee today was that the sheriff and the coroner would receive the level of $1,250, and the other elected officials and the two contractual employees of the county would be $1,000. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Salzer.
just want to make a comment. I know at the last committee meeting that I attended where this was discussed, I encouraged looking at the elected officials. I thought they played a major role in this because their staff, they had to direct them, and I think they helped a lot. But I also want to make another comment, and that is I'm not only in favor of this right now for our people, I'm in favor of it in the future because by some unforeseen situation, we finally come across somebody that also deserved this, then they too should get it. In other words, it's just not these people right now, but if there is somebody that is overlooked.
Thank you, Mr. Salzer. Did I see Mr. Dillon's hand?
Well, I think he explained it, and I wasn't there, but I know this was approved from joint finance and operations. So finance did not, and that's what Mr. Fennell was trying to explain to me. So finance did not have to approve this resolution also, because if that was the case, there's not a quorum.
Based on the value of the resolution not changing, working with the state's attorney's office, we it was determined that the finance committee did not need to reconsider or take up the substitute motion.
The original package has enough fat in it, if I could use that offensive term, to cover this addition, so it doesn't require any amendment.
I just was trying to, no, and I do appreciate Rob addressing some of the questions that were asked, especially with when you brought up payroll and retirement and some other things. So at the time, I did vote no against it, so I probably will vote for it tonight. But I would prefer, and I know Mr. Fennell addressed some of my concerns about the ARPA, and that this is the second time we've gone into ARPA, that I would prefer not to go back into ARPA anymore for other things coming out, whether it be health insurance or whatever. So I think those concerns will potentially be addressed underneath Mr. Fennell's committee going forward, because we continue to, like I said in the last meeting, death by 1,000 cuts of keep taking money out of the ARPA that we haven't allocated it, but we've discussed where the pots should go. So this would be the second time, but I will vote for it today.
I think your point's very important. Thank you for bringing it up again. Mr. Renaud?
I just wanted to thank administration. I know Shauna and Angela and Scott worked to make this happen logically. It wasn't easy to come up with a formula that allowed us to cover every employee and have definite lines drawn as to who gets what, and I think they did a good job and made it logical. And they did such a good job that we have side letters with most of our unions already accepting this. And ultimately, I just think it shows how we value our employees and the risks that they took at the time, and how much we appreciate that. And the risks, there were legitimate risks that our employees were in, and we actually lost 2 employees to COVID. So I just appreciate everybody's support with this.
Thank you. We appreciate your leadership on the subject. Anyone else? On the phone, Mr. Ricker or Mr. Elsasser? All right, everyone, then I'll call the question. Please vote.
Member Elsasser?
Aye.
Member Ricker?
Aye.
17 ayes. Next would be item number 3.
Can I get a motion to approve? Thank you, Mr. Renaud. Thank you, Ms. Daly. Oh, go ahead and read it.
That's okay. Hopefully
Some
you
of the
remember
guys.
this. A resolution from your County Operations Committee recommending approval of setting the salaries of elected officials, the county clerk, the county treasurer, the county sheriff, serving a term from December 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2026, and the county board members, county board committee chairpersons, and the county board chairman, serving a term starting the first Monday in December 2022. Okay, so that was
Thank you. So we have Mr. Renaud on the first and Ms. Daly on the second.
All right.
Okay. Discussion? Mr. Salzer.
Mr. Chairman, I certainly like the way that they've handled the situation in regard to the sheriff's office, taking it out of politics. That was wonderful. I totally agree with that, and look forward in the future to be able to vote on the sheriff's salary and so forth. However, I looked at the case of the elected officials, and I'm looking at the offices. And that's how you're supposed to vote. You're supposed to vote on the office. You're not, concerned about the person in that office. And the people that now hold that office, they had nothing to do with most of this, which I'm going to talk about. And I'll just say this. Over the years, I've tried to be a good listener to other members of the board, as well as elected officials. And I oftentimes get accused of being a pro-elected official and so forth. But I know the duties that many of them have. In fact, the four that probably are most discussed around here are the coroner and the circuit clerk and the clerk and our treasurer. And one of those people, they do employ the most people. One of them handles the most money. One of them has absorbed another department into their office, and the other one is on duty 24 hours a day. And so I think you can figure out who those four people are. But anyway, when you start looking at the salaries, and I know from past experience of my own that numerous individuals were always looking to try and make the salaries comparable. We heard that from clerks, not clerks, but from the office holders, as well as county board members, right here. Some of them are no longer with us, but they were working towards that. If you start and look at the salaries in 2010, there's quite a difference to what it is today. These four are not comparable. Now, when you look at that, you see why. Well, two of these office holders, two of these offices, actually, they have bitten the bullet and taken a zero raise something like 7 different times. Two offices have only taken it 3 times. Now, I don't think that's fair. I think it's time for all the officers to try and bite the bullet when it comes their turn. Looking at another thing, I got my eyes opened a little bit. Our people aren't doing too bad around the state. Mr. Sorrell, he sent out to us a comparison of 8 other counties. So we got 9 counties to look at for all 4 of these offices. 2 of them that we're going to be voting on, they are number 1 in salaries. So those 2 offices, they are at the top of the 9 counties that he presented to all of you, because all of you got this same copy that I got. Also, the other 2, one of them ranks 2nd among the counties in salary. And the 4th one is right in the middle. Out of the 9, that particular office ranks 5th. So what I'm asking you to do today is, and it's difficult to do, is to vote no on the salaries increase of these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salzer. Mr. Renault.
Thank you, sir. As everybody knows, this is one of the resolutions that comes to committee that we don't really get any feedback from administration on. That we're kind of out on our own, making the logic ourselves. So I just wanted to give everybody just a little bit of insight to the logic I finally landed on, because I was trying really hard to keep politics out of it, because I don't believe it's a political decision. I believe that the elected officials have a job, and there's a value to that job to the people of Peoria County. So I had asked myself and my co-chair, Member Daly, had asked for some information, which included comparables to other counties our sizes. We'd also asked for some internal comparisons, what people within our organization, what they make. And one of the tools that we use is the Hay system. And you put in certain criteria on a job, and it spits out a number, a ranking. So we asked administration to do that, and they provided us with a ranking for the three offices. The three elected officials are the county sheriff, the clerk, and the treasurer. Just a side note, the House, actually the General Assembly, and signed by the governor, was House Bill 4700. And what that did is it said that the sheriff's salary will now be a minimum of 80% of the state's attorney's salary. And the county no longer has a say in what it is, other than if they want to give more than the 80%. So we did, right off the bat, just chose to stick with the 80%, because that was going to be an increase to the sheriff's salary. And then we did away with any of the bonuses, because the bonus is kind of included in it now. And the sheriff will still be making more than what it was last year. And then that'll change every year. When the General Assembly assigns the state's attorney's salary, that will adjust. One of the benefits to this House bill is that the state will also pay 66% of the sheriff's salary. So back to the other two electeds, and then the board members. The county clerk, the sheriff's grade came in at an 18. The state's attorney is a 19. The county clerk at the time is a 17, and then at the time that the information was put in, the county treasurer came in as 16. And discussed in committee, we decided unanimously that the treasurer should be a grade 17 due to some of the additional duties that, some of the additional fees that office is now collecting and responsible for. So taking those grades into consideration, there's also a minimum, a medium, and a maximum salary range associated with that. So I took that information, and then I went back to the 80% of the state's attorney's salary. And to me, a percentage of the state's attorney's salary is a fixed variable, not variable, can't have a fixed variable. It's a fixed component of the equation. So what I did is I took the state's attorney's salary, I made a spreadsheet, and I went down and I just listed the percentages of the state's attorney's salary. I then looked at where our current clerk and treasurer are, and then I went to the nearest level percentage without them taking a decrease, and it happened that it fell right at 60%. So that's why the number 1.23 is a very odd number for the first year. It's because that's 60% of the state's attorney's salary. And then, like Member Salzer had mentioned, I've talked to many board members, and they saw the comparables, and we do have one of the higher salaries. So we maintain that salary for the next 3 years with a little bit of a bonus thrown in there. I did the same thing for the county board members. That put the county board members at 6% of the state's attorney's salary, the committee chairs at 7%, and the county board chairperson at 14%. Now, I just use this as a guide. This isn't going to be like the sheriff's office that it's going to adjust with the General Assembly. This is just a guide that I use trying to make some kind of logic out of these salaries. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. We did recommend setting the salary for the board for 10 years. We set it 10 years just because that's the only time that all 10 of us are up for election. Every 2 years, the board salary for half of us can be set, and the other half would be able to set until the next 2 years. The committee chair and the chairpersons can be set every 2 years also, but we just recommended it for the 10 since that's how it historically had been done before. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to try to explain further.
Thank you. Members? So just to be clear, we're voting to set 4 elected officials' salaries.
We're only voting for we would be voting, setting the sheriffs at a minimum. The minimum amount is 80% of the state's attorney's salary. The treasurer, the clerk, the board members, the committee chairpersons, and the county board chairperson.
Okay, gotcha. Questions? Mr. Dillon?
Mr. Chairman, are we voting on the county board members separate from the elected officials, or?
No, it's all in the same resolution.
Okay, because I do support the package for the elected officials, but not for the county board members, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Dillon?
I just want to thank Rob and Linda for putting this all together. I know initially I probably wasn't in the camp of anything, but they put a lot of thought and time in to getting to these numbers, and he explained it to me here not too long ago, and it was probably one of the better explanations of all across the board and how you got to it. So I feel like it was very well reasoned and thoughtful to get there, and he did a really good explanation with the numbers. So I know it took a lot of your 2 times above and beyond what would be considered normal at times. So I do appreciate it and say thank you, and I will be supporting it.
Thank you. Ms. Groves Allison?
I'd like to say essentially the same thing, just that, you know, for most of us, this is a part-time side gig, and I know the number of hours you guys put into this was pretty extensive, so thank you for taking one for the team, and just have to acknowledge the amount of work they did on this.
Thank you for being so supportive. Mr. Renaud?
I did hear Mr. Elsasser's comments. I do want to clarify, the county board hasn't had a raise in 10 years. It's been flat. The county board members, we don't get insurance. We don't get travel costs. What you see is what you get. And we don't propose a raise anymore for the next 10 years. And quite honestly, like Jennifer just said, after this last 2 months, I would hate to divide out what a committee chair makes by how much time I've put in, because it would be pretty sad. But I think this little bump in the county board members' salaries is not astronomical.
Just to be clear, we also voted not only to lock the salaries, freeze them, but we also eliminated health care access and the pension access in the same 10 years.
Correct.
Mileage too? Okay. Yeah, there was a mileage allowance. All right, so we beat this up enough, or you want to beat it up some more? Mr. Salzer,
Oh, no.
is that a half a hand or a whole hand?
No, I was getting ready to vote, just.
Oh. Well, use this. All right. If I don't see anyone else, please vote. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Linda.
Member Elsasser?
No.
Member Ricker?
Aye.
14 ayes and 3 nays. Next is item number 4, a resolution from your county health committee recommending adoption of a county board statement of policy that it is in the best interest of the county of Peoria to construct a new health and human services campus on the property currently occupied by the city county health department in the 2100 block of North Sheridan Road.
A motion to approve is Ms. Williams, and the second from Ms. Betty Duncan. Gotcha. I got to look farther to the left. I'm sorry. Ms. Williams, I see you requesting the floor. It's yours.
Yes, please. I'd like to give, if everyone's okay, Dr. Armour a chance to make a statement.
Sure. Welcome back to the stage, Dr. Armour.
Very briefly, on behalf of the board, we had the opportunity to be able to examine the analysis that was thorough, to look at how the geography played a part in the potential sites, as well as to look at the eligibility of potential users as well as current users. And we came to a very sound recommendation in support of this resolution. We do believe that not only will keeping this site at the current Sheridan site be a benefit in the future, but it's also going to help our present individuals. So we just thank you for considering this resolution.
Thank you, Dr. Armour. Dr. Blair.
Thank you, Chairman. I live almost directly, like 6 blocks north of the County Health Department, and I just know what an anchor it has been in our community and so important. I'm so glad that we're voting today, hopefully in support of this. I will be in support of it. Generations have used this health department in our community, and I would hate to see it move without really good evidence that it needs to move, and the evidence is pretty strong that it should stay where it is. And so I will be in support of it.
Thank you. I think your endorsement of the evidence is strong. Ms. Williams.
Kind of the same thing Dr. Blair said. You know, that facility has been there since 1951. You know, we did a really deep dive into this information. We looked at geographics, we looked at demographics, we looked at 31 different locations where we could have potentially moved. And at the end of the day, we came to the conclusion that it should stay in the same location. And I hope that we can have everyone's support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dillon.
I know we've talked about all the work committee chairs put in. I need to recognize I work with Sharon, and so I know how many hours she put in over the health department, just in conversations among other board members, answering questions. Sharon's always led by the facts, and she let the process play out exactly how it should have. And Chairman Rand's always done that too. These two have done great based on Headington Oaks. They use the same process here. So Chairman and Chairwoman, thank you for your leadership on this to get to this point today.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Members. Ms. Bryant.
I just want to say thank you the same to Sharon. Has put a whole lot of work in this and explaining the process. Having, you know, just making sure that the process was clear and the work that was done was very thorough and clear to understand, and all the information just made it very solid that it should stay in the same place. I was concerned about it moving because I felt like if it did move out of that district, it could devastate that community. It is an anchor in the community, and it pointed to 61604 and 61603 and 05 were the strongest clients or people that use that facility, and I would hate it for it to move north or anywhere else. So I'm in full support of it remaining tonight.
Thank you very much. Ms. Williams, did you have just a button in your hand? Okay. I think she's telling me to call the question. Please vote.
Member Alcesser?
No.
Member Ricker?
Aye.
I'm sorry, was that a nay?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. 13 ayes, 4 nays. Next we'd be at suspension of rules.
Could I, and please to suspend the rules? Thank you, Ms. Groves Allison, and a second from Ms. Daly. Please vote.
Member Elsasser?
Aye.
Member Ricker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we've got some more people that need to hit their buttons. Mr. Rosenbaum, Mr. Salzer, and Mr. Watkins. Ms. Duncan?
Ms. Duncan.
Junior? Oh, no. Mr. Watkins? All right. We just need you to hit your button. Or you can just tell me. There we go. 15 ayes and 2 nays.
Great. Thank you. And can I get a motion to place the proclamation extending the declaration of emergency regarding COVID on the floor, please? Thank you, Mr. Renaud. Thank you, Ms. Groves Allison. Any discussion? Bless you. Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Elsasser?
No.
Mr. Ricker?
Aye.
13 ayes, 4 nays.
Thank you.
Miscellaneous and announcements.
All right, I'll start on my right, Junior. Mr. Watkins. All right, Mr. Salzer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Is Amy here? Anybody from the Highway Department?
Yes, she's on her way in, Phil.
Come on in, Amy. Come on in, Amy. Now, a while back at an infrastructure meeting, Mr. Chairman, you challenged our highway department. I don't know whether you remember that or not, but you
Briefly.
said do something new, and by guys, they did. They had a project out on Evans Mill Road, and it was a bridge job, and they initiated a new project there. I should say a new type, and she can talk to you more about it. But as a result of their project, the American Public Works Association, which they had a convention here a week ago last night, and so we went to the banquet and so forth, and our highway department was honored with a plaque for the initiation of a new technique on this project. And so I think Amy and her crew, which includes Jeff Gillis and all those who work for the highway department, she deserves a good round of applause.
Thank you, Amy. Dr. Blair.
I want to congratulate the many graduates at Bradley and other universities around this area who will be walking across the stage on Saturday. I also just want to warn my colleagues that tonight is the night that they celebrate their graduation, so please drive carefully home.
I saw them on my way up Main Street today. Mr. Renaud.
I just wanted to send thoughts out to our deputy sheriff who was injured 2 days ago. I personally know this deputy, his wife. He's got 2 little girls, so my thoughts go to the whole family, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery and is back with us soon.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, then Ms. Bryant, and Mr. Fennell.
So a lot of people think the Hannah City Trail has disappeared, but that is not the case. There's a small group of folks, including myself, Eric Miller with Tri-County Regional Planning Commission, Fred Winteroth, who's the former mayor of Hannah City, and Mike Rucker. And we've been meeting to talk about how we can kind of keep this going. So there's going to be a meeting at the Hannah City Park District Gymnasium, which is at 511 North Main in Hannah City on Monday, May 16th at 6 p.m. And that's just to gauge interest if we want to proceed forward with still trying to purchase this land.
Sharon, if you will, we found that there were some potential environmental issues and some cost of ownership issues that might become the county's responsibility, which is the reason that we had to take a left-hand turn.
So there actually is a nonprofit that was developed a few years ago. So what we're looking into is having the nonprofit own the land. So the county, Farmington, Hannah City would not be involved.
Thank you. I think Brandy was next. Then go ahead, Brandy.
This is just an announcement that the Racial Justice and Equity Commission will have a meeting on June 16th as well. Sorry. But on June 16th, we will have a meeting at the Civic Center, and all committees will report out on their work, and all the county board members will receive an invitation. It is at 6 p.m. at the Civic Center.
Thank you. Did I see Miss Daly before? Okay, then Mr. Fennell.
Just to follow up on Miss Blair's comment about the graduate, I'm fortunate enough tomorrow to go to my granddaughter who's graduating, and she's going to be a teacher, elementary ed, first grade. So, very, very important one. Does she have a job? Yes, she does. She's already filling in a maternity leave, and then she's going to do summer school, and then she's got her fall job.
Excellent. Okay, Mr. Sorrell has a couple items that he wants to tell us about before we go.
Real quickly, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, even though I don't believe she's in the audience, I'd like to recognize Rhonda Guyton, our jail superintendent. Earlier this week, she received the Community Service Award from the Women's Fund Leader Luncheon. Second, residents in the last day or two have started to receive notices from Homefield Energy, that is our municipal electric aggregation supplier. We did a press release on April 26th, and we'll make sure all of you get a copy of that. Very quickly, what happened is the 11-state regulatory body that regulates all the power production, electricity production, had what's called a capacity auction, and the price for that auction on a per megawatt day basis was a order of magnitude of 41 times what the current rates are. A lot of things are driving that. Some of it is the market turmoil caused by the conflict in Ukraine. Part of it is coal-fired power going offline and not being replaced quickly enough by solar and wind. And it's a multi-state issue. It's not exclusive to Illinois. But what that means for our residents is that the cooperative group that we participate in made a joint decision to not take that pricing, which means that the municipal aggregation contract will expire and residents will start to see that reflected on their June utility billing. And that's for just the unincorporated residents, but also those residents that live in municipalities in the county that participate in the same program. We all did it together, along with multiple counties and municipalities in central Illinois. Going forward, we're going to be working to try and secure better pricing. It's probably looking like that will not happen until August. So for the summer months, all of us are going to be stuck paying the Ameren rate, but know that the team is working in the market to try and find better pricing for as soon as possible, which is most likely going to be in August. So if you get any constituent calls.
I'd say thank you, but I don't mean it. So, how is it that the pricing won't conceivably be better until August? I'm not sure. I heard the word Ukraine.
You did. So electricity is traded as a commodity the same way oil is, the same way corn and beans are. The people that know the electricity market much better than I do are giving us the impression that there will be some settling. The order of magnitude that the auction results came in at, no one has ever seen or expected, and the entire market didn't know what to do with it. And so the market's going to settle itself out, figure itself out, and the estimate is that'll occur sometime in August.
Would the board feel better if we invited a representative to our next executive committee meeting to weigh in on this so that we're better informed? I think because we award the aggregated contract, and I never say cooperative, I call them just a co-op, because the cooperative part is where the customer meets the 41 times what it was under the last contract. That all fades. But I think informing us a little bit better at the executive committee, since we do sign off on the aggregator, would be important for all of us. And can we do that by the next meeting, Scott, of the executive committee?
They're in the region regularly, so we'll
Thank you.
make sure we get them here. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Fennell, then Ms. Groves Allison.
The last time we had this aggregate that we worked through, it was for all the energy would be coming from green energy. I think with the magnitude of this kind of increase, we as board members need to know what the options would be, of whether it's green energy or non-green energy. If we don't specify that it had to be green energy, what is the price?
We will do that.
And you're specifically referring to the tax credits as well?
No, it wasn't the tax credit. It was just that's what we had
Right.
offered them to go out and seek, was only green energy.
As a percentage of all of it, or just totally green?
What's the difference paying for green or just going out and just getting off the market?
Just buying gray. All right. Well, we'll get an update, Jim, then at the Finance Executive Committee meeting. Thank you. Ms. Groves Allison.
I wanted to thank Scott for going over that. I've started getting a couple calls from constituents who are confused by this. I think everybody's confused about how energy is purchased and traded. So having somebody in to kind of preempt this next step would be helpful. And thank you for reviewing that, Scott.
Thank you. All right. We're good? All right. We'd be adjourned then. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brady, for joining us.